Very warm greetings, everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on the book Living in Truth, the Gandhian Paradigm. This one is the lecture number 4, titled as Gandhi's Economic Revolution. We've been discussing in the last few lectures regarding this book and various chapters included in the book. And the book is published by Rupa Publications. It is authored by Ramin Jahanbegloo and Pooja Sharma. This is the front page of the book, as you can see on your screens. This is the full cover, hardcover of the book. These are the authors, which shortly we'll discuss briefly about them towards the end. And these are the chapters covered in the book. First is the introduction to Gandhian paradigm. Second is Gandhi's moral revolution. Next is Gandhi's political revolution, then Gandhi's economic revolution, and Gandhi's ecological revolution, the last chapter. And the final we will conclude with thinking with Gandhi. So Gandhian paradigm, Mahatma Gandhi's relevance to India, and not only India, the whole world, is greater, and it is greater than ever before. I take this opportunity to introduce the fundamental essence of Gandhian thoughts. Gandhi did not consider freedom as a mere pursuit of selfish aims at the expense of others. His unique understanding of human life, as well as the fundamental, has constituted and revolutionized all concepts related to moral, ethical values and political economic systems, as well as finally it has also unfolded the biggest challenge of the climate change which we all are encountering and facing. How the entire concept of paradigm has been compiled into 4 types of revolution in this particular book, that is Gandhian paradigm. It has been described as moral revolution, political revolution, economic revolution, and the ecological revolution. Today we will be talking about Gandhi's economic revolution. Gandhi's moral revolution, that is the self-transformation of the individual and the society later on, it has embarked on the ethical revolution in politics also, which we saw in the last lecture, as discussed, and we had done it in lecture number 3. Having understood the significance of ethical revolution, this particular chapter and this particular lecture characterizes the Gandhi's revolution, how society perceives economics and its economic system. History has witnessed an inherent episode and uninterrupted and unprecedented episodes of not only uniformity of crisis and challenges, but also it has also the similar kind of responses have been seen in the human race and spread across the whole world. This reinforces the spiritual connectivity of humans indeed. Having explored oneself or the consciousness and discovered the interconnectivity of and the mystery of the truth, we seek to dwell in a world which is non-violent and peaceful in the socio-economic settings. The Gandhian perspective of economics emerges from the primary dimension of upliftment and enrichment of the human life. So these are the 2 guiding forces of the kind of economic system Gandhian view is visualizing. The underlying motivation behind economics is not to attain the highest standard of living according to Gandhian thoughts, but to achieve the minimum possible respect for humans and social values. The Gandhian economics is guided by an evolved consciousness that realizes the truth of existence and therefore seeks to achieve the ultimate satisfaction. This is what Gandhian economic aims at. Guided by the empathy and the law of non-possession, the Gandhian economic aims to build a society that is devoid of any concentration of power, competition, warfare, or unrest. Consumerism, it has no way or in no means it is to achieve the satisfaction, or it will lead to satisfaction. The underlying phenomenon that human wants are unlimited and the resources are limited, which constitutes the fundamental economic problem of the discipline, that is economic discipline, which is also called as problem of scarcity. In this particular context, the philosophical approach of Gandhian economic perspective strategically distinguishes between the notion of wants and desires and provides a necessary rationale for ethical wants. Thus, fundamental economic problem, that is the problem of scarcity and choice, identifies its explanation in the Gandhian notion of economics. It is evident that the desire to acquire more and more has been detrimental to the limited resources in the world and ultimately administered into an unprecedented possession of resources. Thus, the outcome of greed has been the unchecked capitalism, and that breeds more and more economic growth. Thus, we can say that the uncontrolled and unlimited human wants have resulted into concentration of wealth in the hands of few. That's how the notion of vested interests and political economy comes into picture. The dynamics of political economy further plays an important and critical role in disrupting the equity in the distribution of the resources or the wealth, and the existence of welfare economics or the welfare state altogether. In economics, we have learned in the discipline that the invisible hand of profits or forces of demand and supply were responsible for the capitalism to grow in an uncontrolled manner and detrimental to the extent that it destroyed human values and ethics. This was pointed out in the remarkable work by Smith in 1987. However, the Keynesian notion also, we saw that it appeared, and that the increasing demand could lead to the multiplier effect and distribute the growth to the poorest of the poor. And this particular multiplier notion of Keynesian thoughts or Keynesian stream, it has failed drastically in distributing the growth in an equitable manner. In addition, the political economy, guided by the vested interest, inhibits the flow of well-being to every section of the society. Professor Pullinar in 2020 has also mentioned in his work that its economy's prospects and long-run viability are delimited by ecological imbalance and growing inequalities. The two very well-known economists, Lucas and Thomas Piketty, they have also revealed that the gap between the rich and the poor has aggravated from 1980 to 2014, and specifically in the case of India. The purpose of the entire process of development is to converge and not to diverge in the sense of the existing gap between rich and poor, or creating inequalities, different levels of inequalities across. However, the extensive literature on growth theories has explicitly revealed that the rich are becoming more and more affluent and the poor are becoming poorer, implying increasing inequalities. Lot of researchers have economists have contributed. Chandrasekhar Ghosh in 2007, then Sen Gupta in 2008, and further several studies have reflected this particular conclusion. under the prevailing economic system of humans have been caught up in the vicious cycle of consumerism. The characteristics of greed, vested interests, and the preponderance of power in the hands of few, it has become the basic nature of humankind. Such adverse human attributes, they lead the humanity towards destruction, unrest, competition, conflict, and war. The failure of economic development to ensure inclusive growth, poverty alleviation, and reduction of inequalities makes it imperative to revisit the whole process of development models and growth. And moreover, the economics which is devoid of ethics is destructive. It is barbarous and environmentally detrimental. Therefore, Gandhian economic thoughts originate from the perspective of individual self. All wants and desires, with both materialistic and non-materialistic, they emerge from an individual self itself. So therefore, the individual self is at the center of it should be at the center of any solution or any discussion. These desires and unlimited wants, they constitute the demand side of the economics. Consequently, an evolved self-guided, an evolved self means a transformed, self-transformed self which is guided by the wisdom of Gandhian thoughts will always aim at self-sufficiency, self-reliance and minimum consumption. Moreover, the interconnectivity of the self of each individual and finally to the larger consciousness should become the guiding force of all economic decisions and choices of the economy as a whole. The similar thought and similar kind of notion which we discussed in the political revolution, the same applies here when we take the economic decisions and economic revolution. The two fundamental notions, as far as if we look at the Gandhian economic thoughts, the two fundamental remarkable theories, or you can say the models which Gandhi has proposed, is the Gandhian trusteeship model and economy of permanence. They are considered as a benchmark of revolutionizing both economic and environmental domains. The rules of the game in economics have to be or should be redefined and revisited. There is a need to unlearn the earlier definitions of economics and redefine the fundamentals of economics. If we want to visualize sustainability and lost harmony with nature, the definition of economic has to evolve from individual self to the society and finally the state. All the three entities which are present in the society, like individuals, firms and the state, which we always take as a basic model in all the economic models, macroeconomic models. So all the entities, individuals, firms and state have to function in the same direction with the same objective. It is then the socio-economic transformation that will originate and embark, that will be referred to as Gandhian economic revolution. It is only then we can visualize a climate resilient society, or the world that is created then will ensure better place to live and for our future generation. The Gandhian ideology of trusteeship. Now, we will be discussing about the two models of Gandhian thoughts which are instrumental in bringing about the economic revolution. The first model is the trusteeship model. Gandhian ideology of trusteeship model is remarkable and it is a breakthrough in the economic thought. It unfolds the economic problem of unlimited wants with limited means. The trusteeship philosophy is based on the notion that one must care about the world one will not see. Much before the climate change which we are facing now, the debate which has begun, Mahatma Gandhi had said that we should act as trustees and use the natural resources very wisely, as it is our moral responsibility to ensure that we bequeath the future generation a healthy planet. The Gandhian perspective of economics emerges from the primary dimension or the aspect of development emphasized by Gandhi. These aspects are mainly upliftment and enrichment of human life rather than the higher standard of living which normally economic visualizes. Therefore, the key driving force behind the Gandhian thought is the minimal possible respect for humans and social values. In his philosophy, ethical values dominate the economic values. He says, in quote unquote, supposing I have come by a fair amount of wealth, either by way of legacy or by means of trade and industry, I must know that all the wealth does not belong to me. What belongs to me is the right to an honorable livelihood, no better than that is enjoyed by millions of others. The rest of my wealth belongs to the community and must be used for the welfare of the community. This is how the notion of wealth or possession of any resources or wealth a person should perceive. The core of trusteeship model is the protection of human dignity and not merely the material prosperity. Under the state-regulated trusteeship, individuals will not be free to hold or use the wealth for selfish satisfaction, disregarding the interest of the society. Such a system will ensure a minimum wage for all members of the society. Besides the doctrine of trusteeship, it also addresses the prevailing inequalities, ownership of resources and income, narrowing the gap between the rich and the poor. Government acts as trustee or the custodian of resources and intends to distribute its resources equitably to all living within the boundaries. No one consumes or owns excess of resources. All resources which are in excess are redistributed or distributed among the people who are deprived and who are really in need. When the human civilization views natural resources as curators and individuals would try to restore every part of it for the future, innovations will commence not to destroy the natural treasure but to motivate to secure and protect them. So the whole notion of innovation will change. It is not profit making. The innovation will be to preserve and secure the natural reserve, the non-natural reserves which we have, assets which we have. The elementary aspects of Gandhian notion of self-sufficiency and self-reliance, they envisage that individuals are satisfied with the minimum consumption. Such a society or community is devoid of any concentration of power, warfare, unrest, etc. That nation will be peaceful, non-violent and equitable distribution of wealth. Given such a commercial setup, such an economical regime or setup, the resources of the economy must be produced and consumed sustainably. Although the doctrine of welfare state, which we have read in the discipline of economics many times, the welfare state was developed a long time back in 1990s. And sooner after, the economists have realized that the missing concept of human welfare in the stream of economics while addressing the mechanism of all profit maximization macroeconomic models. Several noted economists and welfare economists like Arrow, and they have adopted a utilitarian framework. And Arrow 1977, they all attempted to integrate the social welfare and utility concept in economics. The Benthamite notion contended that greatest happiness of the most of the significant number is the measure of the right and wrong. Later, Rawlsian approach also emerged, and it measured the well-being of the worst of individual, and that happened in 1971. So, on one side, economists have started realizing the missing gap between the welfare and the outcome of economics growth. Rawls asserted that equal fundamental liberties and they should be embodied in the political constitution and relate to the fair equality of opportunities to all, and it should not benefit only to the advantaged members of the society. Many countries like Norway, Canada, etc., they have attempted and they have implemented the welfare models. However, the core and the critical aspect of the state to be a custodian of nature, that has not been incorporated still in any of the models. Now, this was all about the trusteeship model, which is similar to large extent being covered by the welfare state. And economists, it is similar to what Gandhian thoughts were saying. The recent economists, they have realized and they have incorporated in their new welfare models of economics. The second model, which is another remarkable contribution by Gandhian thoughts, is economy of permanence. Economy of permanence is a notion that sets the trajectory for reducing the ecological footprint, that is, impact of humanity on nature. An economy that is based on economy of permanence was a notion that was formulated and advocated by J.C. Kumarappa, who was a then economist in the contemporary times of Gandhian thought. He plays an instrumental role in ensuring the sustainable growth. The ultimate truth is permanent and highly relevant for perceiving the sustainable and purposes of life. J.C. Kumarappa's notion of economy of permanence is self-explanatory. His remarkable work emphasizes sustainable economy, which finds its formulation in Gandhian prescribed pathways of truth and non-violence. Now, this is based on the concept of stock and flow. It is also a concept that incorporates transient and permanent economy, depicting the sustainable pathways. We will come back to the discussion on economies of permanence after a short break. Thank you.